Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Radio W.O.R.K.S World. This is Angelika here, your Change for Life host, and I am an author and speaker. I am all about change for life because change is possible, even though when you think it is not. And it's all connected with changing the story that we tell ourselves and to others. So today I have the lovely, I'm really honored to be interviewing Marina Nani. Hello, Marina.
Wow, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Angelika's show. Angelika, I feel so humbled for you. For me, you are a goddess of change. You are the goddess of change. And I learned so much from your own story, and I feel so inspired. And I know it's all about your story, not the story you are sharing with other people. Is the story you are telling yourself when nobody else listens. So when nobody else is listening, what do I tell myself about myself? What is the truth that I want to embrace in my daily life? And these are all changes. These are all changes in your own perception about yourself.
Yes, it is indeed. I don't know what was it the same for you, Marina, but you know my story. But where has there been in your life, because you have so many pockets of different stories, what would you like to share with the listeners where you had to apply this, where you had to make the changes, and where you perhaps didn't know that it was possible to do? Because by sharing these little stories with our listeners, they actually think, oh, actually, yes, that makes sense. And I will change my story. So would you like to share something like a story with us where you felt like that?
No, actually, I would like to share my eureka moment.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know. And of course, I had no idea who I was. I was very successful. I was running my business. I created my own business simply because I thought I'm not good enough to work for other people. Time I will put in my CV, they will come back and say, you are overqualified for this job. Yeah. And each time I will hear that, I will cringe. I will think, how on earth I'm overqualified? But then I learned that society is very different. And when you enter as a migrant woman into a new culture, you don't know not only who you are anymore, but you don't know who the people who need you are. So, yes. Of course, having 3 children and being a young widow, I won't be a perfect fit for any employer, because they will think, oh, she will ask for benefits. She will ask. So they just assumed that I am too expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So of course I had to rethink everything. I had to create a business that I thought is needed. So what I thought at the time, I will give a solution to people like myself who are overqualified. They are consultants. They travel the world. They travel away from home, and they have nobody to take care of their children. So they have to carry their children with them, not as a luggage, but as a part of their life. So I decided to create something that nobody ever heard about it before. So it was red taped. It was very difficult. Everybody thought it's illegal. Even now, everybody does it. Over 2 decades later, everybody does it. So I created a concept which allows people who travel in business to rent a house, have a front door, have their own space while away from home, be able to cook, be able to take care of their children for less than 6 months. because when you go on a business trip, you could be there for 3 days or for 3 weeks or 90 days. And it was at the time unheard to rent your property for less than 6 months.
Right.
So I had to think of what I needed at the time when I was traveling away from home, when I had 3 little children being left in a hotel room all by themselves. And when then I had to take them with me because I couldn't leave them behind by themselves. And I remember my youngest son, who was 4 at the time, we had a high-end meeting somewhere in South Pacific, and he was underneath the table drawing, and somebody gave him some things to write on, and among those things, it was a bottle of Tipex. So he used them all. So when we came out of the meeting, my boss, which was a very high-profile executive, had on his black shoes with white Tipex, yes on one shoes and no on the other shoe, because my son was just 4. So that was funny, but it was also a wake-up call for me, because I was thinking, what do I want for my children? Do I want them to grow underneath the boardroom and just being there with me, carrying them as a luggage, or I want them to have their own choices and make friends and be able to go to the same school for all the year. So I had to make decisions. And of course, when you make decisions, each decision comes with consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yes, I created the business. I made it very successful. Now everybody does it. I wrote books about it. So being away from home is not necessarily a luxury. It's a way of life, and more people are engaging with different locations. They take an assignment for a place they've never been before. They don't know anyone there, so they still need a home away from home. So that was one of my experiences, is where I had to accept that I'm a young widow with very young children, and I have to put them first. So this is the story I was telling myself. So yes, I was very successful, and then I had a very, very well-paid job while working, going to different countries as a consultant. But this is what people knew. She is so successful. She is so good at what she does. People are paying her so much. Maybe perhaps they were envying me. But the truth was that I was dying inside, thinking that I'm not a good mother. I'm not doing the right thing for my children. So that is the story I was telling myself.
Yeah.
That was the story I was telling myself when nobody was listening.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you pay attention to the story you are telling yourself when nobody is listening, is almost like defeating the purpose.
Yeah. This is what the story that we tell when nobody's listening, this is what we create.
So basically, while I was facing all difficulties, creating a business that nobody heard about it, everybody assumed this red tape because it's not a standard kind of rental. I realized that what I'm providing is a solution that nobody that I knew offered me. So I was creating something that I wish I had for myself.
Yeah.
So then when I retired from my business, I was 51 years old, and I had everything I ever wished for, perhaps more, to be fair. I didn't wish for so much. So I had, if you want, I could say I had a dream life. I was retiring very early. I was only 51 years old, and everybody perhaps was envying me.
Yeah.
But I felt a void.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like nobody needs me anymore, because before I used to take 150 calls a day. I was useful to people. My life was revolving around my family and my clients. But now my children were adults themselves. They didn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
And this is what I wanted. And then I could not see what I'm here for anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I'm going through a black tunnel, or like this old photography, the Kodak, the old camera. We're both young enough to remember those.
Yeah.
When you take the picture, but you have to take it to a dark room to develop its colors.
Yes.
So I went through that process of going to the dark room. So I had to, because I was having everything, but I couldn't walk. I had no energy to walk or to live anymore, because I had nothing. Even I had, according to others' perception, I had everything and more, but actually I had no reason to live anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when I went through that process, it was a very painful process, and I had, again, to change the narrative, because the outside world thought she's so successful, she got it all, she must be so happy, but I was dying inside.
Mm.
So coming from a very transactional world where you go and get things, that's something anyone can do. But going through a process of transformational change and going through all the darkness and all the loneliness and all the, how should I put this, the self-discovery journey where nobody can guide you, is a total different experience.
It is.
So when I realized that the story others see, or their perception, is not congruent with my own story, with my own narrative, I realized that I have to change the story that I'm telling myself when nobody is listening. So when I published my first book, and people were coming to me, total strangers, sharing their own story, I realized that they go through the same process.
Yeah.
All these total strangers,
Yeah.
I was discovering their story. That included myself. I was the total stranger. I had no idea I could write a book, or I could share a story, or I could have my own story. And when I was invited, I heard my call. It was a big event in London, and they called my name to share my story as an author. But I didn't feel as an author. I just went there in front of almost 10,000 people, and I had no idea what to say. I couldn't open my mouth. I couldn't say anything. When all these people were waiting for me to say something, for God's sake, I realized that it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to speak because I want to speak. I wasn't even ready or prepared. I realized that all these people need something from me. So it's when, even mumbling and feeling so embarrassed because I had no idea. I thought you have to prepare for everything in life. You have to do your homeworks. This is how I lived my life before. And that's why I was achieving success. And for me to be dragged in front of so many people and say something, I had no clue I even have a story. It was the most terrifying experience. But then I had this eureka moment when I realized, actually, I will share from the heart. I will tell them how I feel. And that changed everything.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it, when we connect to the heart, it flows. But it's a difficult journey, because people have to, like you mentioned, yes, you were feeling you were in the dark and you had to do some inner work on yourself. Because what happens normally is what people, in my opinion, I don't know if you had this experience as well with some of the people that have been in your life, what we do is we're trying to make a change and we maybe get some new furniture or we paint the living room a different color. And then that feels good for a short time. But then the same thoughts, unhappiness, and wanting the changes come back because that wasn't really satisfying. And it is really, truly the work that we do with ourselves deep inside, healing the wounds that we had, trying to find a different perspective on our view that we have of people and the world.
You see, Angelika, I mean, people are talking about their wounds, but not everybody got wounds. Some of us are really happy and they are so blessed to, I was blessed to have such an amazing life. And yet I was dying. I couldn't walk anymore. And my children couldn't understand what's wrong with me. I couldn't understand. I had no clue.
Yeah.
So you see, you don't, to have your purpose, to grow into the person who can deliver your life purpose, you don't need to be wounded. You don't need to come from a place of pain. It's simply, you are born with it and it's screaming inside. It's going to implode unless you realize that you are carrying a great message for somebody. You have great talent. You have an abundance about yourself that is about to burst or make you die. I remember it's an old saying that when you are an egg, you could do one of two things: become a bird or go bad. Yes. So this is the true story, the real narrative you have to share with yourself when nobody is listening. You have to remember who you are, and you have to remember where are you going, because there is no such thing like this is my goal to make the next million. So then what? So what if you make the next million? So how is that going to change how you feel? So we live in a society of instant gratification and everybody's after something that is right now. And growing to the person who can deliver your life purpose takes time.
Yes.
To me, it is. I decided after that I've been asked to speak in front of 10,000 people on the same stage where Bill Clinton was speaking. Imagine what kind of people were there. They paid for their ticket, and I wasn't able to open my mouth. You know, it was in many ways such a great opportunity. And from the other hand, is how I felt inside. But this is when I realized that I'm going to go on a journey away from home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to meet total strangers, including myself. And then I'm going to come back after 1,000 days, which I did, and start making the difference for the people who need to be inspired, because inspiration is in short supply. You could do a million things. It's like taking a shower, you know, and then you have to take another shower. So inspiration is in very short supply. And if we think we can survive as a society and carry the greatness of human spirit, of humankind, we really have to start telling yourself the true story about yourself. You have to tell others who you are, and don't let others tell you who you are, because this is where everything happens. Is that magical moment when you realize that actually I wasn't the successful businesswoman I thought I was because everybody was telling me I was. I wasn't the happy person, go-lucky, delivering good deals and, you know, having a healthy bank account, because in my heart, I felt lonely. In my heart, the moment I wasn't able to serve anyone, my clients, my family, nobody needed me. I felt like dying. So to me, Angelika, is not what other people think of you, is what you think of yourself that matters the most.
Of course.
And Henry Ford said it for all of us. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is about telling the truth. And in my experience, okay, my experience is different from your experience, and that's probably why I mentioned wounds. Some people have wounds, and for other people it's different. There are so many different scenarios out there, uh, but everybody will be inspired by the truth when people have the courage to become vulnerable and really speak about themselves, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, who they are, allowing themselves to be who they are, because then that will inspire people and help them to do the same and have the journey and find their purpose, whatever the purpose is, to and then making the changes. Because if we keep thinking and doing every day, day in, day out, the same thing and expect a different outcome, that is
Madness.
this is not my saying, it's Einstein, but it is so true. People have been so frustrated with myself in my life, because nothing was changing many, many years ago. And then, right, I learned that accepting the way it is helps you to move on, let go, don't fight it anymore, and then start to have different thoughts and start doing different things, educate yourself, connect with inspiring people. There are so many people out there with, for me, I started with, what's her name, Caroline Myss, The Anatomy of Spirit, and John Gray. There's so many books that I read, and then one of my favorite was Donald Welch. It was really speaking to me. I had a sense I could associate with that. It spoke to me. I felt so happy with the information, and it inspired me to have a look at myself and to
It also, Angelika, you see, this is the story you are telling yourself. This is a very good example. But the truth is that the story you are telling yourself could sound like, I wrote my latest book, Your Past is Not Your Destiny.
Yeah.
Is going to help so many people, and I have to walk the talk. I have to be out there, and I have to allow these people to have the experience of meeting me, of knowing my inner truth, the truth I embrace. So yes, people could say anything about you, good things, bad things, is not relevant. What is relevant is what people hear when you meet them. And most of the time, reading a book is like meeting the author, but nothing could replace that. So that's why I can't wait for your events this year, for your book launches. And I can't wait. I know you are coming to London on the 31st. And is the pre-launch of your latest book, Your Past is Not Your Destiny. And I think in many ways, Angelika, I told you I retired when I was 51 years old, and everybody was very, some people were happy for me, some people were very jealous. 51 years old, being 51 years old, you are very young in terms of retiring. But now I'm 55 years young.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is how I feel. I felt 51 years old when I retired. I was exhausted. I never had a holiday. I never had a weekend away. I've been working flat out 7 days a week for over 2 decades. And yet I felt I'm left with nothing. And then I realized must be more to life, but I didn't know what, where, how, when. I had no clue. But this all comes down to the story you are telling yourself about yourself when nobody is listening.
That's right. And I hope that when my book is out, which will be pre-launch, like you said, on the 31st of January, that my book, my story in there inspires people to take that journey of change, like other books have helped me when I started my journey, because it is never too late.
Wow. From both of us until next time, I would say Today is awesome Tuesday because we have Angelika and she is helping you finding the story you are telling yourself when nobody is listening. From both of us is goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelika. Bye-bye.